Welcome to the channel. Please subscribe if you like stories about the ancient world. For 3,000 years, the shores of the Atacama Desert echoed with the sounds of the Chinchorro people. The chopping of stone tools, the laughter of children, the solemn chants for the dead. Their culture, their art, their very presence was a constant. And then, silence. The red and black mummies were no longer made. The coastal camps grew quieter. What happened? Did they simply vanish? The truth is far more complex and profound than a single disaster. The story of the Chinchorro's decline is not an ending, but a transformation, a poignant tale of a people grappling with a changing world and their own success. The first, and perhaps most powerful force of change, came from the environment itself. Around 2000 BC, the world was entering a period of significant climate shift. For the Atacama, the driest place on Earth, this meant things were about to get even drier. The vanishing lifelines. The Chinchorro strategy for millennia was built around the river mouths, the quebradas. These were their lifelines, providing the precious fresh water that made life possible. But as the Great Drought intensified, these rivers became less reliable. Some may have become seasonal trickles. Others might have dried up completely for years at a time. The domino effect of scarcity. This had a catastrophic domino effect. Less fresh water meant the delicate ecosystems in the river valleys began to collapse. The reeds they used for baskets and huts became scarcer. The plants that sustained small game died off. Most crucially, the productivity of the nearby ocean may have been affected. Changes in ocean temperature and currents can disrupt the Humboldt Current, the very engine of the marine food web that the Chinchorro depended on. The foundation of their entire way of life, the predictable abundance of the coast, was beginning to crumble. The environment that had preserved their dead so perfectly for millennia was now turning against the living. As the old ways were becoming harder, a new way of life was slowly spreading down from the highlands and intermediate valleys. This was the dawn of the agricultural revolution in the region. People began to settle in more fertile valleys slightly inland, cultivating crops like maize, beans, and squash, and domesticating animals like llamas and alpacas. The allure of the new economy. For some Chinchorro, the appeal of this new lifestyle would have been powerful. Agriculture offered a different kind of security. Instead of relying on the unpredictable ocean and scarce fresh water, they could settle by a reliable river, grow their own food, and store surpluses for lean times. This was a fundamental shift from a foraging to a producing economy. Cultural assimilation. This wasn't necessarily a violent replacement. It was more likely a slow process of assimilation and integration. Chinchorro communities, or individuals within them, would have begun to interact with these farming groups. They would have traded their fish for pottery and agricultural products. Through marriage and cultural exchange, the distinct Chinchorro identity would have begun to blend with these new influences. The younger generation, seeing the stability of farming, might have chosen to adopt the new technologies and beliefs, leaving the old maritime-focused life behind. The intricate, weeks-long process of mummification would have seemed less relevant in a society that was developing new gods, new rituals, and a new relationship with the land. We can see this decline etched into their most sacred practice, mummification. The archaeological record shows a clear trajectory. The production of the most elaborate black and red mummies gradually ceased. The later mummies are of the simpler, bandaged or mud-coated style. This simplification is a silent testimony to a society under stress. the loss of specialized knowledge. The incredibly complex process of creating a classic Chinchorro mummy required specialists, artisans who held the secret knowledge of disarticulation, reconstruction, and painting. As communities became smaller, more dispersed, or focused on new survival strategies, this specialized knowledge may not have been passed down. The cultural imperative to perform this ritual was fading. A change in worldview. Ultimately, the practice died out because the worldview that sustained it was transforming. The Chinchorro's unique belief system, where the dead remained as active, physical participants in the community, was likely replaced by different spiritual concepts introduced by incoming agricultural societies. Perhaps the afterlife was now seen as a distant realm, rather than an extension of the present. The need to physically reconstruct a body for eternal presence among the living no longer held the same power. By around 1100 BC, the last echoes of the world's oldest mummification tradition had faded into silence. So, did the Chinchorro disappear? In a sense, yes. Their unique cultural expression, their art of eternity, vanished from the earth. But to say they went extinct is a profound misunderstanding. They did not vanish. They transformed. Their genes live on in the indigenous peoples of Chile and Peru. Their maritime technology and knowledge of the ocean became the foundation for countless generations of fishermen who followed. Their story is a powerful lesson in human resilience and adaptation. They thrived for 3,000 years, longer than the Roman Empire, longer than any modern nation-state. When their world changed, they changed with it, gradually merging into the new cultural tapestry of the Andes. The Chinchorro teach us that the end of a civilization is not always a fire and collapse. Sometimes it's a quiet blending, a slow setting of the sun, rather than a sudden eclipse. Their legacy is not one of failure, but of incredible longevity, and a final, graceful merging with the currents of history. They were the first, and their silent, painted faces will forever remind us of the deep, ancient roots of human culture in the Americas. What do you think is the most poignant lesson from their decline? The power of climate change, or the inevitability of cultural evolution? Share your reflections in the comments. If these stories of the deep past resonate with you, please help us keep them alive. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell for our next journey.